So currently I'm not logged in and I try to edit one of these movies. I get redirected to the login page. Now when I log in, I get redirected back to the movies page, not the movie form. So we need to modify our login form and redirect the user back to where they wanted to go. Here in our protected route component, if the user is not logged in, we redirect them to the login page. So here we need to pass some additional data. That is the current location or where the user wanted to go. How can we get this? We can get it from this props object. So in this render function, let's quickly log this props object. Now I'm going to log out and try to edit this movie one more time. Here in the console, look at our props object. We've got history, location, and match. As you have learned, React Router automatically passes these props to our components. Now look at the location property. This object represents the current location before we got redirected to the login page. So this is where we wanted to go, and basically we can pass this location object to our redirect component. Now before we do that, let's quickly look at React Router documentation. On this page on the left side, look at this redirect component. As you can see, the two attributes can be a string or an object. This object is a location object with these properties. So we have path name, search, and state, which we can use to pass any additional data in the component we are redirecting the user to. That is our login component. So back to our protected route component, instead of setting this two attribute to a string, we need to set it to a location object. So let's delete this. We'll set it to an object. In this object, we should have two properties. One is path name, which should be /login, just like before. But we should also set the state property. That is the property we use for passing any additional data. We set this to an object, and in this object, we can add a property like from, and we set this to props.location. Because this location object represents the current location before we redirect the user to the login page. So that was the first part. Now we need to go to our login form component and see if state is set. If it's set, we'll redirect the user back to where they wanted to go. So let's delete this console.log, save the changes. Now let's go to our login form component. So here on line 25, this is where we are redirecting the user to the home page. We need to make a small change here. So we get the location object, this .props.location. Now, as you saw, this location might have a state property. So we can use object destructuring to pick the state property. Now we need to change line 27 to something like this. If state is defined, we'll pick state.from. That is the custom property that we set here. So we set state to an object with a property called from. This from is a location object, and location objects in React Router have a property called path name. So back to the login form, we pick state.from.path name. Otherwise, if state is not defined, we will redirect the user to the home page. That's all we had to do. Let's test the application. So currently I'm not logged in and I try to edit this movie. I get redirected to the login page. Let's log in, user 1. Now the application redirected me to the movie form. Beautiful. Now let's test the other scenario. This time I'm going to directly go to the login page and I expect to be redirected to the home page. Beautiful. Now there is one tiny issue in our application. Even though I'm currently logged in, I can still go to the login page, and that is not right. So in this case, we want to redirect the user to the home page. Back to our login form, here in the render method, we can do something like this. If the user is logged in, so if auth.getCurrentUser is defined, we will return a redirect component to the home page, like this. Otherwise, we'll return the login form. Now, because we have used the redirect component, we need to import it on the top. So import redirect from React Router DOM. You might be curious why I didn't use window.location here, because we use that only when the user is trying to log in. So we want to reload the application so our application is remounted and is in the right state in terms of knowing the current user. So save the changes. Now I try to go to /login and I get redirected back to the movies page. Beautiful.